Thanks for joining us here at the Air Designs booth, 2018 Keystone Big Show, Dallas, Texas. We're going to try and give you a little bit of a tutorial at the same time, so that in case you've ever thought about doing this maybe to your own truck, or you're a little bit scared, maybe you have your own shop and your guys are worried about doing it, we're going to take a little bit of the guesswork out of it for you. This F-150 came with the factory flare, that little molding that was on there, so we've removed that. A couple 7mm bolts and 9/32 or 7/32 up in the top, as well as back here. What that does is now gives me an open surface to get this flare on. I've pre-prepped the area with acetone to remove any dirt and chemicals and stuff like that, because we are going to be using a Tesla adhesion promoter. Proprietary system to these fender flares. If you'll notice, the backing tape is blue. This is Tesla. This is a German-made adhesive for low friction paint, so that when we go to put our adhesion promoter on, we're going to get the most effectiveness. As I get my flare in for a test fit, if we're going to get these feet on, when those things go on, they're on. They're not coming off again unless you really want them off. So everything has to be test fit and lined up properly. Air Designs makes use of as many of the OEM holes and fastener locations as possible, removing the need to drill in your vehicle. Makes installation a little bit simpler for the average person, because you're not looking and measuring and making new holes. As well as we're doing this on a lot of brand new vehicles, so why punch extra holes that we don't need to in a vehicle? So you want to make sure you have this pressed onto the vehicle where you're going to want it, paying attention to body lines and curves so that that flare is going to have the seamless fit. At this point, we're going to go around and we're going to make little notches that are going to give me an idea as to where those super feet locations are going to be. Simply the leading edge of your flare, where that screw is. Leading edge of your flare, where that screw is. Now that's giving me all my real estate for understanding where these super bolts got to go. After looking at the super bolt and understanding the pattern and the shape of the super bolt behind there, you use a little bit of memory and visual reference as to give you an idea as to where that adhesion promoter is going to go. Takes a couple times to get it perfect. When in doubt, just check twice and you'll be good. At this point, your flare's almost on there like some of the competitors at this point. Now is where we get serious and take it one step further. So now that I have those marked and I'm confident with where it is, we're going to remove the flare. So set this aside. And now you can see all my locations for those super feet have been marked. They ship you 2 of these bottles. I'm here to tell you, if you have to open the second bottle on the same job, you've probably made a mistake somewhere. You give it a little bit of a shake just to get that all stirred up. Now when applying this, you want to be liberal, but you don't want to have it running down the truck. I like to smear it around a little bit with a process of dabbing. You can tell it's activating properly when you see those little strings. So we're just going to continue around. Again, making sure you're getting good even coverage just over the area where you want. You don't want too much buildup of this stuff, but you want to make sure you've got enough on there. Take the tape off. I simply pull it out a little bit, pull off my tape. I don't know if it's just me, but this Tesla backing seems to come off very easy. So now that we've got everything lined up and ready to go, now it comes putting these super feet on. So we're going to go back and repeat that initial process of getting this flare back to where it was before, which if I've done my job right, if you've done your job right, it's going to be the same place. I like to tighten them up to make sure that we're lined up, double check my front, and start. Push the whole unit in there. Super bolts have made a contact on that adhesion promoter. We still haven't given them the pressure they want. Now, as long as you stay in the same place, slipping that foot isn't a deal breaker. If that foot's underneath there a little cockeyed, as long as it's in the right place, it's going to work. I like to see them all line up nice and pretty when I take the flare off. I think that's just a point of pride more than anything else. I like to use the Allen key, but I can feel what's happening when I turn this screw. I can tell that only the screw is turning. If I felt an odd friction there, you'd know that the pad is spinning. You don't want that to happen, because if the pad spins, there's only a few ways, or comes off, there's only a few ways to get that pad back where it needs to go. The easiest way being is to reassemble the flare back to the initial state with that pad, either a new one or elsewise, and start again. So it can be time consuming, and we want to avoid that. That's not why we're here. I find the front and the back ones seem to be under the most tension. There's the most give. You can see as I back this out, that flare, it's still contacting the vehicle. So here's a little bit of an example. That flare is contacting the vehicle right now. Backing out, you can see that flare is following the screw. That's showing you the the level of compression that's here on this gasket with that super bolt. That's going to keep the dirt and grime and have no shifting in there. So it's one of the things I like is you have enough relief here to actually create some tension on that flare, which is going to really change the whole fitment. So now I'm going to take out my screws down here. Bolt, we're going to take this off. And look at that. We got all our feet on there, and we actually hit symmetrical in every one. You may be able to see the glare of the adhesion promoter versus where that is. It's a good visual reference. We know we have a little adhesion promoter coming out all sides. Guaranteed that foot's got what it needs underneath there. At this point, Air Designs as well provides you with a little white tool guide to help save your fingertips. So you can be rest assured that your flares aren't going to move anywhere. So now we're almost basically finished the process other than getting that flare back on there. So again, what that does now is it's holding my flare for me. So because we're using a stainless steel bolt going into a brass fitting, we like to use a little Loctite on this. Putting a little bit on every bolt and getting it in there. You don't need a lot with this stuff. Less is more. I'm sure most people watching this video are working on vehicles, know what Loctite's all about. Just a couple drops on there, a little slide. This is the style I have. And I really like the fact that the holes are a little bit bigger. I've had some of the competitors over the years where I've had to take maybe an awl or something and get in there and widen out some of the other mounting locations. They don't have super bolts. So again, we're going around tightening these. I tighten them up till their bottom and I give them about a quarter turn. So I'm not reefing on these things. I can't give you a real torque value or anything again till it bottoms, but a quarter turn. It's just enough snugged up so that we're going to hold that flare nice and tight. You can tell working our way around, constantly looking at your fitment, constantly looking at your lines. Last thing we want to have to do is take this thing back off. We've had it on and off 2 or 3 times to make sure we put it on there right, and it's going to go on right now. So one of the nice things with the Air Design kit is these little clips. With these, I simply put them in. There's a small recessed hole in the flare. This hole lines up with the factory hardware from the F-150. We're not making any more holes. This clips into that flare and at the same time provides me about this much travel for my bolts. So if you have any deviation in what's going on in here, maybe you've put your fender on, maybe you're half a millimeter one way or the other, these things are going to allow you to do that versus some of the competitors don't. So again, just another piece of Air Design that just makes your life easier, makes a product I can really, really believe in. All right, guys, so there you have it. And we've got front and rear flares on the driver's side of this F-150. You got about 20 minutes a piece, 25 minutes a piece if you know what you're doing, and you got a quality flare. This thing is on there. I would challenge some people to walk around and look at some of the competitors. Put your fingers back here and pull on it. Watch what happens. You can't do that with this flare. It does not happen. I can shake the whole truck by this flare. Not many people are going to let you do that. It's not going anywhere. The most solid flare in the industry. It will take a shit kicking, and that paint will even do it too. So thanks for being here again. Air Designs booth, Keystone Big Show, Texas, 2018. Bigger and better than ever, baby.